Hi, thanks for popping in with me today. My name is Janice Waitman, and I've been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for over 27 years now. And you can always visit me at my blog, www.stampaholics.com. And if you'd like to purchase anything you see today, you can just click on the link that says Shop Now. What I'm going to be sharing with you today is the stamp set that's part of the celebration offerings for, well, celebration ends in a few weeks, February 2023. So you only have a few weeks left to order. And it's one of the selections that's free with a $100 net purchase. It's called Beautifully Happy, and it's a two-step stamp set. And you'll see what I mean in a few minutes when I show you a card. But really beautiful stamp set. I've seen some lovely samples out there. And I always tell my customers when they buy Stampin' Up! Product, for example, like this stamp set here, to Google Beautifully Happy, Stampin' Up! And you will see lots of ideas and inspiration to use product they have on hand. So that is page 13 in the Celebration Mini Catalog, which ends in February. Okay, without further ado, let's get started on this card. I'm going to use a pretty color combination. It's Fresh Freesia with Rich Razzleberry, and I think those two colors are gorgeous together. I already folded my card base in Fresh Freesia, and it's just a standard fold for a standard card size. And I'm going to go ahead and put some of my pieces together. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to put my greeting on the inside. I'm not going to have a greeting on the outside. I know some people like to make up their cards and not put their greeting on until they're ready to use the card at the last minute, and that gives them a lot more flexibility, and that's always a choice. In this set, there was a greeting that said thank you, so I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to use my tuxedo black memento pad, and I'm just going to put thank you right here. And depending on how much space you need for a message, you could bring it down lower or up higher so you have more space to write. So I'm going to put that stamp away and put this over here for the moment. Next thing we're going to do is stamp the envelope, and I think I'm going to hold off and put a flower on that. So let's get started on these. So I'm going to take the outline of the flower, and this is a clear block, and I'm just going to do that in tuxedo black as well. So this will be the outline, and I'm going to stamp this on the envelope, just a little bit of it. There we go, and then I'll come back to that in a minute. Then I'm going to stamp on this piece that's been die cut with the deckled rectangle dies. And you would find those on page 170 of our annual catalog. It's a very versatile die set. It has different sizes of rectangles that look like they have little decals on the side. And you can see the different layers here. Okay, so back to stamping the flower on here. I kind of turn it at an angle, so we can get as much of the flower in as we can. And it's nice when you have the clear stamps like this. Okay, beautiful. And then the last thing I'm going to do, that little insert I did, I'm going to add a little flower in there as well. It's kind of nice to carry the theme throughout from the envelope clear into the insert. So I'm just going to add a little bit down here. There you go. And I'm going to put this stamp set aside because I'm done with the black ink for now. And then we're going to take Fresh Freesia, which is that light pinky purple. This is where the two-step comes in, and I'm also going to be using Old Olive. When you open our stamp pads, you just lift, flip, and then slide. I'm going to do the green first. I changed my mind on that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is line this up. And when they're clear stamps, that's easy to see. You can see that's the edge of this flower here, the leaves, and I'm just going to kind of line it up. And it doesn't have to be perfect. So I usually just start with the image on the left and then kind of look at the image there and kind of balance it out with the middle. That will be pretty close. And so now we've stamped that greenery. And I'm going to do the same thing to the card layer up here. Again, I'm going to line up this first one here, and then I line up the middle. And again, because it's a clear stamp, you can see it pretty easily. And then the last thing we're going to stamp with that one is the envelope. And you could never have too many thank you cards on hand. Seems like I need mostly thank you cards and birthdays. And then a few sympathy mixed in there. Okay, so there's our envelope. We're going to put that stamp aside. Now there's another stamp for leaves, and it's the larger leaves. And you'll see after I stamp this how it has kind of a light dark image. And we're going to go with this one. I did stamp, I guess, a little leaf over here. We need to capture that. So we're not going to use the whole stamp because I pulled the image down on the insert a little bit. There we go. So easy when you do two-step stamping. It's one of my favorite, I guess you'd call types of stamps with Stampin' Up. So I'm going to go over here. Again, I usually line up to the left and kind of wiggle it around till everything looks like it's pretty close. And that looks pretty good. And this is what I mean, how it looks a little bit lighter in the center. It has that shading. It's a distinctive design. And you're not going to have much on this one. There's just the one little leaf over here. So I just kind of turn it this way. And we are almost done. Now what we have to do is stamp the flower part. So let's close up the green and get it out of the picture. And go over here to the flower. Again, we're using fresh freesia. And I'm just going to line it up to the left. And then kind of look at here. And as I said, don't stress too much on getting it perfectly lined up. It's kind of like a watercolor technique. It doesn't have to be real exact. And you can see what that looks like. And now we're going to do the card insert. And I think that looks pretty good. And again, you can see that shading where it's a little darker in the center. And the last part we're going to do is the front of the card. And you can see kind of over my shoulder. So I'm going left, kind of look at the bottom big flower, this one here. And I think that's good. And there you go. Isn't that beautiful how that lines up so nicely? Now it's time to assemble the card and add some embellishments. Close up my fresh freesia stamp pad. Such a pretty color, very springy. So I'm going to take my seal adhesive. We're going to put the card insert in first. And I just go around the corners. I just put it around the edges. A little goes a long way. And I always like an insert inside my card. I think it gives the card a little more substance, and it just looks a little more finished and elegant. Even though this color cardstock Fresh Freesia is light enough that you could write directly on it, but it's just kind of pretty to have that insert. And the next thing I'm going to do is take some DSP. This is also from the Celebration Options Dainty Flowers, and I'm just going to take the Fresh Freesia side to be showing. Put a little adhesive back here. And I'm going to put it on a rich raspberry layer. And this layer here, I mean, you could make it any size you want. It is 2 1/4 inches wide by 5 1/2 inches long for the rich raspberry. And then I just made the DSP a 1/4 inch smaller for the layering. So I'm just going to layer this to the card. And sometimes you can put your card on here and it's going to be a little bit easier to line it up. I'm going to put it maybe right about in that halfway point. That way you feel like it's pretty straight all the way down, halfway between that square and this square. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to layer these two pieces, the ones that have been cut with the decal dies. And again, center it. And I'm going to use dimensionals, which are your best friend. I use these on almost every card I make. It's just nice. It gives the card a little dimension. And take the backs off. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of put this in between here. And we have a couple more things we're going to do. I'm going to get a glue dot. And on the back. Here we go. And I'm just going to put it right up here on the card. And I'm going to take these embellishments. They're called Dragonfly trinkets. They are in the mini catalog that's good from January through April 2023. You can find them on page 19. They're a lot of fun. You get 20 dragonflies. And you can see they're silver here. And I'm just going to put it on that glue dot. Cover him up. There, and you won't see him. But I get him placed. There we go. And the next thing I'm going to do is use Wink of Stella, which is one of my favorite things to add to almost every card. It's kind of contained a shimmer. And I'm just going to put shimmer on the flowers, the fresh freesia part. And I'll hold this up to the camera close so you can see how it just adds a little bit of sparkle without being over the top. And as I said, it's more like a shimmer than a glitter, but just Wink of Stella. So you can see here how there's just a little sparkle shine. And the last thing we're going to add to this card, it's called the Flat Adhesive Back Pearls, and they're also in the mini catalog from January through April 2023 on page 23. And it's the Flat Adhesive Back Pearls, really pretty. And it has two different sizes here. So I'm just going to take, I guess we can use a larger one, and just put it right here in the center. And you could use the smaller one, that's fine too. But then you have your card. It looks like this with your envelope. And then inside, you have your insert. And here is the supply list here. If you have any questions about what we used today, I called it the Thank You Dragonfly Floral Card. And I used the stamp set Beautifully Happy. And it's a celebration option on page 13 of the celebration brochure. And it's free with a $100 net purchase. The celebration offering ends February 2023. So if you need this product, just reach out through me through my website on the blog, www.stampaholics.com, and click on the Shop Now link, or you can just email me. And I have my email address down here at w8mn@comcast.net. Ink, I used Memento Black, Old Olive, and Fresh Freesia. The dies I used were the deckled rectangles, and they're in the annual catalog on page 170. The cardstock I used was Basic White, Fresh Freesia, Rich Razzleberry, and the DSP was also a celebration choice, Dainty Flowers, and that's 12 by 12, and that's in the celebration catalog, page 6, and that's free with a $50 net purchase. For accessories, I used dimensionals, glue dots, flat adhesive back pearls, and the Dragonfly trinkets and Wink of Stella. It was just a fun card to make, so I hope you enjoyed watching that today. And again, if you have any questions, just reach out to me on my email or contact me on my website. You can leave a message. Take care and happy stamping.